Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins. I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. Tonight, our guest is Daniel Riordan, actor and voice actor. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure, really.
Right, so you met two of us at TFCon LA.
That's right.
Did you have a
Great
good?
con, by the
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so for those who don't know who you are, could you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles. I'm an actor. I've been acting since I was 20, professionally. Went to NYU, graduated with a BFA in drama, acted in high school, that sort of thing, and then always wanted to be an actor. And then came to LA after college at NYU and started working a little bit at a time. And then in my 20s, did a lot of sitcoms and was a guest on a lot of shows. And then started doing movies and other projects. And then it wasn't until I was really in my late 30s and I was doing Turboman in Jingle All the Way with Brian with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And Brian Levant, the director, had directed me and had produced actually a show that I'd done for Universal called "The Amazing Adventures of in Outer Space of Captain Zoom." That was a great show, and he asked me to do the Turboman role, and I was working with Richard Mull, and he one day said, "Oh, you have a great voice. Have you done voiceover?" And I said, "No, I haven't really done that." He goes, "Yeah, I'm doing a lot of voiceover. I work at my agent's SBV. At the time, I was doing commercials for them, but I'd never done voice for them." And I said, "Oh, wow." And he goes, "Yeah, let me make the introduction." And I booked my first VO job, and then I didn't book for a couple of months, and they dropped me. And I was like, "Okay, well, that was interesting. Nice try. I guess I'll move on." And then I had a production company, and one of my partners said to me, "Hey, this guy Mark Quinn, who's a fan of yours, and you know him, and he's working at ICM now in the VO department. He's like second guy there, and he wants to. He said if you want to come in and read for him, he'd love to represent you." And I said, "Great." So I did, and he did, and he said, "Look, just do what I say, and you'll do well. Just you got a great voice, and let's go." And so that's that was the beginning of my voiceover career. So that was probably, I want to say that was probably about 2000, no, late 90s, 98, 99, something like that.
So as an actor, what do you think was your breakthrough role?
I think, I mean, the first gig I ever had that was professional was when I was 20 years old, and I did a walk on General Hospital, and I got to say, I know that probably I did it. It was absolutely possible that my dreams could come true and I could actually make $1 doing this. It was pretty impressive. I was 20 years old, and but I think as time went on, there was I did a lot of great stuff on sitcoms. I really enjoyed that. My career kind of progressed in fits and starts, and then kind of started to blossom a little bit, and especially in my 30s. So I would say that Captain Zoom was a huge, if not a breakthrough, it was certainly a highlight of my career, and it was a threshold moment for sure, where I was the star of the show. It was a major show. It was a 2-hour movie, um, uh, a pilot for a series that Universal was going to run worldwide. And the only reason we didn't go forward was because it ended up Universal and Stars was the producer as well with Universal. It was the first time Stars had ever put money into an original production. Before that, they'd only broadcast stuff that had already been produced. So they had a little squabble over the money after about a year of me, doing all this publicity for both of them, and then they canned the show during the squabble. So, and we were set to go like 26 episodes the first year, and we got huge ratings on when they aired the movie, and that was a huge disappointment. But yeah, I'd say that was probably one of the big highlights, and then just doing different movies and stuff along the way. It's always interesting. At least I don't. I've heard a lot of actors say this, but I certainly feel this way. There's times you're on the set, and every time you come on, you're like, "Oh, I'm here again." not sure whether that was going to happen. Like I never take it for granted. Put it that way.
So we actually looked into your filmography before in preparation for this interview. You've been, like you mentioned, you've been in a number of sitcoms. We've also had appearances in dramas or the Star Trek franchise.
Right.
From your experience, what is the difference between performing comedic versus dramatic roles in terms of preparation or execution?
Okay, good question. I think if you're doing comedic roles and you're with other funny people, there's no more fun to be had than being in a play or on a TV show or a movie, and you're just yucking it up pretty much all the time. You're even off camera, you're just having a great time because you're with really sharp people that basically make you your best, and bring out the humor in you. I think there's an old saying, and I think it's really true, that with drama you can be tired, and it's okay. It sometimes even helps. I know actors I've read who actually get hungover to do dramatic auditions because they feel that they're less inclined to get nervous, and it brings some texture to it. It's not something I would do, but I kind of understand what they're saying. But with comedy, you have to have tons of energy. It is an energy-funded endeavor, and you must have the energy. And I think that's the major difference. Timing is so important, and you have to be sharp, and you have to be ready. But it also makes up for some of the energy that you have to put in, I think, because it's so pleasurable. At least I find it very, very pleasurable to just be laughing all day long and to be paid for it. I mean, if you watch comedies, I'm telling you right now, they are Seth Rogen, whoever, they're doing they are roaring through the day. It's just that kind of thing. In fact, it's almost like you can't not be that way because you have to be on tap at all times. Acting is very, very exhausting. There's a physical aspect to it. Being on the sets, even if you're just sitting, it's because you have to be always alert, always ready, and you have to give a certain amount of energy to your performance at all times. And it can be very, very exhausting. People don't realize that, especially if you're doing night shoots and that sort of thing. But I think, the difference, to answer your question, is you need all of your wits about you to do comedy, and you can be slightly down or tired or impaired or morose and still do drama. You still have to be on your toes, but there's a quality you can settle into that might even help the performance.
All right. So in preparation for this interview, we watched a couple of your more comedic guest appearances, and from what we've seen, we think you have good comedic timing.
Thank you.
I know that means a lot coming from us.
No, it's true. No, I'm serious, man. I take it where I can get it. It's the audience that decides this stuff anyway, so.
All right, so perhaps one of your best known on-camera roles is Turboman.
Right.
How did you land that role, and how did you feel about it being part of your legacy?
I love that it's part of my legacy, especially now. It's interesting because I'm getting to a point where it seems to be that I'm in a sweet spot. As one of the guys that was running the convention in Pasadena that we were at said to me, or North Hollywood, said, you're kind of reaching this place where the people who were fans when they were kids are now in their 30s, and these are the people that are really attending these conventions. And so it's kind of funny that I'm getting there's like a renaissance, a lot of interest, and a lot of response to these iconic roles. So it's really, it means a lot to me that people enjoy it and that it was part of their childhood. Like so many people I've talked to, their whole families watch Jingle All the Way every Christmas. It's a tradition, this kind of thing. My kids love the movie. So that was important to me as well. I had kids after I did the movie, but I got the part because, as I mentioned before, that Brian was my producer on Captain Zoom. So when he wanted me for Turboman, it was while we were still waiting to see if Zoom was going to go. So we were in contact all the time. I'd just gotten married. This is 96. We got married in February 96. We went on a honeymoon to Morocco for a month. And I was out in the desert on a camel track. I mean, in the Western Sahara. It was kind of crazy. And this is before cell phones or anything. So I checked in. We were staying at this Casbah hotel. I mean, it was very primitive. There was like birds flying through the hallways, and literally camels were putting their heads through the window. And I mean, it looks like something out of Arabian Nights. It was nuts. But there was like one telephone at the desk, and I said, "Can I make a collect call to Los Angeles?" And I called Brian's office just to check in. You know, it kind of just felt like, oh, I haven't spoken to them in a couple of weeks. And they were frantic when they picked up the phone. The assistant was like, "Oh my God, Dan, Brian's been looking for you. Where are you? We know you're on your honeymoon, but where are you?" And I said, "I'm in Morocco." And they said, "We need you on a flight out of Marrakesh tomorrow morning for London, and then we're going to bring you to LA. Brian wants to use you as Turboman. We need to get a fitting." And there's very little time for them to do the mold. And we're lucky we found you today. I mean, it was almost getting to the point where they were going to have to replace his choice, which was me. And this is the first I'd heard of it. So I was like, "Yeah, of course I'll do it." And they said, "Just get yourself to Marrakesh by this time tomorrow morning." And we were on the other side of the Atlas Mountains, so we had to drive over like at dawn and get to this plane. And then they flew me in, and I arrived in LA at like 3:00 in the morning, and a limo picked me up, and they brought me straight to the studio, and they had a whole team waiting, and they did the mold and did the impression. It was like I had to stand there for like an hour while this thing dried, and then they take it off to make the suit. And then they flew me right back the next morning. Crazy. They're like, we really feel bad about interrupting your honeymoon, so we're going to put you right back. And my wife stayed in Marrakesh and waited for me. And then we continued our honeymoon. So that's how I heard about it. That's how I got it. It was kind of a gift from Brian, who I still am friends with. I still see. And yeah, that's how I got that.
We're not sure how often you get asked this, but while filming Jingle All the Way, did you ever interact with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely, yeah. Saw him quite a few times in makeup, and then we were the only ones wearing the suits. So they were flying us in front of a green screen for a couple of days at the same time. Obviously, they wanted to do all his green screen stuff and my green screen stuff at the same time. So we were on a sound stage, I believe at Paramount, and we met there. We hung out there, talked to each other a lot there, and we both. We were the only two guys wearing, like I said, wearing the suits, and the suits could be very uncomfortable. And I made a comment, and he said something to me that, very sarcastic, and everybody, there was like all these people standing around us, the DP and all the assistants and all the different team leaders and the green screen guys and everything. There's about 15, 20 people kind of huddled around us, and we were about to, and I was like, "Oh, aren't these really uncomfortable?" And he was like, "Well, and he kind of made this kind of sarcastic remark about the fact I couldn't handle the pain. And then I came back with something, and that was very sharp, and everything went dead quiet. Every word was his name, right? Of course. They're like, "Oh, Arnold, you're a genius." And I'm just like saying, and then I came back with my zinger, and everything went dead quiet. And he just looked at me. And then, to his credit, because he is cool, right? He just goes, touche. And that was the end of that. And I think they were rather startled. But I knew this. I sensed it because I'd been talking to him. And he's the kind of guy that will give you a certain amount of, stuff throw some things at you, and if you can handle it, great. If you can't, it's on you. But he's not cruel. It's not like a vicious thing. It's more like kind of jocular.
Yeah.
So, but that was fun. Yeah, but he was always a good guy. And then I used to see him at a place called Cafe Roma in Beverly Hills. I would go there and meet Harvey Korman for lunch, who was one of the other actors that was on Jingle All the Way, and we became friends. And we used to meet there kind of regularly for lunch. And there was an outdoor courtyard behind the main dining room, and Arnold would be sitting out in the courtyard smoking cigars and holding court with like 5 guys, and I would always walk through and be like, "Hey Arnold, hi," hi, just say hi to each other. So that was kind of fun too.
How often are you asked to sign Turboman stuff or say one of the...
Like constantly. At every convention for sure. And then in the last fall, it was before Thanksgiving, there was the screening at Cinematheque here in LA, which is a really great organization that revives and discusses and has all sorts of Q&As around different feature films. And we were in a theater in Silver Lake, and Brian was being interviewed, as was I, and Brian Levant, the director, and we went there together. And I introduced Brian, and then I was able to sit down and watch the show. And I brought my kids with me, my adult children, they're 23 and 26, and my wife. And I had not seen the movie since the premiere in Minneapolis. I don't think I'd ever seen it.
Oh.
And my kids had seen it. They said they'd seen it, but it had been a long time. And then we watched it together, the 4 of us, and really, really enjoyed the movie. And the kids really dug the movie. And then afterwards, I stayed in the lobby for an hour and a half signing Turboman dolls.
Wow.
People had just brought, it was a huge line out in front of the theater. And people they had shirts made up, and it was whole families with their adult children. Who are now in their 30s. They were all like little kids when I made the movie, and so that was fun. It's always delightful. Everybody's just so nice, and it's just kind of really interesting to me that so many people. You do something that you don't think about really that much. As when you're doing it, you're glad you're doing it, but you don't realize how much it impacts people. And then you think about yourself, and you're like, well, there's that song or that band or that movie that I love, and that TV show that made an impression on me when I was a kid, and you realize, it's important to people. And so I always try to respect that and kind of meet them where they're at, and do as much as you can to make it enjoyable. And I'm happy to sign that stuff. So, and we weren't charging that night.
Right.
So it was purely, and my kids were like, "Oh my God, movie star for a day. Okay, this is fun." they were giving me a hard time, but they enjoyed it too, so it was fun.
All right, so moving away from Turboman, are there any actors or voice actors that inspire or influence your work?
Well, I mean, I cannot believe. Start with Mel Blanc. I mean, that guy, he's gone now, but
yeah.
I mean, when you start doing this and then you realize what he accomplished with his voice, I mean, to me, it's just like he set the gold standard. So there's that in terms of, I often think about that when I'm looking at animation material. I'm looking at the script or the text, I'm studying it, and I'm trying to figure out how to do a certain voice. And I just think about like the kind of innovation and reach that he had, and the diversity in his voice was just amazing. But today, I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling's, actually, as an actor. I think he's a terrific actor. And talk about an actor that can do both comedy and drama. There's a really good example. He's a superb actor, and he can go in either of those directions. There's something about him. I just think he's really good. And then for me, it was like coming up. It was always, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and that crew, and The Godfather made a huge impression on me when I was a kid, and that movie. And But I think voiceover wise today, I really admire a lot of the people that I work with. I mean, I think they're terrific. And my agency, my agent is like, I think he's the best in the business in terms of not only as an agent, but stepping into the booth and directing our auditions. I couldn't ask for a better representation. So, yeah, I think it's kind of fun to be in this world, and I guess after all these years, it kind of catches up with you and accumulates. So it's something I don't think about every day, but I realize when I do think about this stuff, I often reach way back to like someone like Mel Blanc.
Right. In terms of voice acting, from your experience, what is the difference between voice acting for a show versus a video game?
You mean like for animation as opposed to video game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, video games have changed a lot. They used to be much more in terms of you were simply giving prompts to the player. So a lot of it was stuff like turn left, and watch out, and he's got an explosive, and then as you went on, it became really cinematic. And then I started doing stuff where huge speeches and dramatic arcs and things like that, especially if you're doing motion capture. I did a show called Days Gone. I don't know if you know that video game.
Heard of it?
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic. It's an excellent game. And I'm the lead bad guy, the colonel. And those were really like doing theater in the round. I mean, that was like dramatic, almost cinematic. And then for animation, animation is also very cinematic in the sense that they don't really very often want you to do anything too exaggerated. They want it very real, very grounded. So in certain ways, they become very similar because it's really about performance. As my agent always says, he goes, I don't care about voices. I care about actors. I want good actors. And, you have to be a good actor to do this. And we can polish. You can train the voice to a certain degree. You can adjust, but it's really about acting. And I think that's really true. And I think the only difference at this point is with animation, there are more character arcs, there's more speeches, but a lot of the games, especially depending on which games, can be very, very interesting and have really rich characters as well. So there used to be a lot more difference, but not so much anymore.
Speaking of video games, one of your biggest roles was Alduin in Skyrim.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
What was your experience like voicing Alduin?
Well, what's interesting about that is I was working a lot. I was doing a lot of different games and videos and stuff, and voiceover stuff at that time, and it was another gig. But what I remember about it specifically that was interesting was they had created their own language. I mean, it was a real language that they had actually worked it out, and I had to pronounce that in a certain way, and had to carry it off, with ease. It had to appear natural, and I was good at doing that. And that I found was challenging, but it was also kind of rewarding, even in the audition, to be able to kind of nail it. And that's really what got me the gig, was the fact that I was able to. I was very facile with the language. When we did the show, it was, you never really realize what the game is going to be, what it's going to look like. Even they don't really show you that much. I'm always surprised when I see the finished product how wow, it's much richer than I thought, or the animation is like wow. I thought it was going to be this coloring, and instead it's this palette and this kind of thing. But one of the things that's fun about having done Alduin was my son was about, I don't know, 10 or 11 at the time that it came out. And I remember he came across the yard from the back office one day, and I was in the house, and he was like running across the lawn going, Dad, I'm fighting you right now. Because you have to level up. It took him like a week to get there. He was like so excited, and I go, really? And he goes, yeah, you're the main dragon. You're the biggest. And I was like, oh my god. And then every time I would tell one of his friends, and I've done this a few times, I dropped that bomb. Oh yeah, I was Alduin in Skyrim. I was say, do you ever play Skyrim? And people are like, oh yeah, I love it. Well, I'm Alduin. I mean, people lose it. I mean, it's like, they just get really excited. So I was a big hero in my son's middle school at that time.
That's important.
Yeah, I actually re-listened. It's been years since I played the game, but I re-listened to the clips of you as Alduin, and I thought I was reminded how good of a job you did.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
Really, really good job having a good presence as the villain, and also you sounded fluent with the language.
Yeah, and it's funny because now I kind of paraphrase it when I do it because of course I can't remember the exact language, but I remember what it sounds like. But and then they added a little something to my voice as well to make it, I think, to resonate a little more. But yeah, I had to start with that bass. They really were looking for somebody that could carry it, So I was fortunate enough to get that gig. I'm proud of that gig, actually. It's a great role.
While looking through your video game roles, I was a little surprised at how many games you were in that I've played. A couple that stood out were Hitman, Blood Money, and The Evil Within.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hitman, Blood Money. That was that's the one that takes place in the South, right? Is that
I think
an
so,
African American lead in that? It takes place in the 60s or 70s.
Hitman was featured Agent 47, and you played Mark Parchesi the Third.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've done so many.
Yeah.
When I see them, I remember them, but sometimes they do run together. I gotta admit.
That's fine.
And you've played a lot too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I played a lot. Also, another role that jumped out at us was you were George Washington in Age of Empires 3.
Oh yeah, yes. And that was one of my first gigs. That was one of my first jobs as in VO. That was in the first couple of years, or first year I did that. And then I did it was Age of Discovery, was that right? Is that the same series?
I think so.
I did where I did a Greek and Athenian also, or Socrates or something. Anyway, there was a series of historical games that company did, and I did several of them. One was ancient Greece, and then one was George Washington. Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that. I remember that game. So that tells you something.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to Transformers.
Sure.
Since this is the 25th anniversary of the 2001 Transformers: Robots in Disguise.
Oh yes. Look at that.
I'd like to ask you some questions about it.
Sure.
Yeah. And we also have your autograph.
I remember signing that.
So I want to say the 2001 Robots in Disguise was our formal introduction to Transformers. So it's kind of an honor to be it's an honor to be speaking with you about it right now.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. Yeah, that was a great gig because it was like 34 episodes, I believe.
39.
39.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And I mean, I went like that was a regular job, man. I went down there once a week or twice a week for months, and we recorded those. And sometimes, and that was unusual too. Sometimes we would do group recordings. I remember we would be in the booth together, acting out the scenes, which was really unusual. That happens a handful of times in my whole career. But that was through Saban Entertainment, and they had us, and we were it was basically dubbing since it was the Japanese anime.
Yeah.
And when we were, and they would have a writer right there. The director was also had the ability to rewrite the lines so that our mouths would match the lip flaps in the anime, because sometimes the lines that had been translated for us to speak didn't really quite match. So they would stop everything and change the lines so that it looked more like the lip flaps that were going on. And that was interesting that we would sometimes wait and we were even sometimes would come up with suggestions, because sometimes the actor, it's always interesting when you throw out a suggestion, you have to be very, very careful. But there are times where they get stuck. You can see they're stuck and they're trying to figure it out, and it's kind of your expertise. And so you'll offer like, hey, would you mind if I made a suggestion? Are you open to a suggestion? And they were, yes, please, because they're usually in a log jam, and then you can come up with something oftentimes that works. And then oftentimes you'll do the suggestion and they'll love it and they'll go, yeah, but we can't use that. So. But with this, with Robots in Disguise, it was a lot of fun. It was fun playing those roles, and I didn't realize until later how meaningful that, again, how iconic that was, because I think a lot of the movies and other things that came after that.
Yeah.
So, and I did another one. Did I do a game?
Yeah.
Yes. I did a game as well. Yeah, after that. But it's funny because you'll see on Reddit or whatever, they'll talk about who's the best, God, I'm spacing. Megatron.
Yeah.
Thank you. Geez, like, wow. Okay. Who's the best Megatron? And they'll rank you. And then I just did a reading with Megatron from the movies, from the feature films.
Yeah.
We were on the same panel together at the convention that we were all at in California. So that was fun meeting him. Really nice guy.
How did you end up on Transformers?
That was simply auditioning. I was with a really good agency, Abrams Artists at that time, and I read a stack of copy every single day. So I would go in every day for a couple of hours, and I mean, I would drive into town, and you go up to the agency, and they had booths in the agency on the voiceover floor. And they'd have a theatrical division, or literary division, all these things, and they had this one floor that was just for voiceover, and they had booths, these recording booths, and they had recording directors, booth directors, and you'd show up, and they would hand you, a pretty thick sheaf of paper with all sorts of stuff. So there'd be animation, there'd be commercials, there'd be, games, all sorts of stuff. And then you would just end up, reading everything and hoping for the best. So that's kind of how I got it. I just read for it, and, they booked me.
Out of curiosity, did you happen to have any familiarity with Transformers beforehand?
I did not. A little bit, in the sense that I'd seen the toys.
Right. Yeah.
I'd seen it wasn't like so foreign to me, but it wasn't something that I hadn't seen any Transformer films, and I don't think the films had come out at that point. So,
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed the character. I always loved Megatron. I thought he was the smartest guy in the room. He was evil, but he was smart, And and I always played him with this kind of like dripping sarcasm and this aloof sort of, I'm this upper crust sort of disdain, you know. So I really found that fun to play.
Yeah, we happen to have the toys for Megatron and
Oh my
Galvatron.
God, those are beautiful. Did you show those to me when we were at the convention?
No,
Yeah, convention.
no.
Huh.
Uh,
Those are beautiful toys. Those toys are like 25 years old, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because several people brought those up to me at the convention that we were all at, and I signed a couple of them, and they're really beautifully made. I mean, they're solid.
Yeah,
They're really
they hold up pretty well.
yeah, they're really neat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see if I'd been younger when all this came out, I would have really enjoyed it playing with those. My son had lots of figurines, different figures and action figures, and he spent hours playing with these big figurines, and I saw how much he enjoyed it, so I think I probably would have too.
I thought it was cool about this Megatron is that he has like all these different alternate modes.
Right. Yeah, it's like crazy. Like it gets wild, actually.
So when you auditioned, did you audition for Megatron specifically?
Yes, I would have definitely been reading for Megatron, and probably a couple of other characters, which I ended up doing another character too. Um, Not Optimus. Was it Optimus Prime?
It was.
What another role? I played another role.
Hold on a second.
You were
Oh.
Omega Prime.
Yeah, Omega Prime. That's it. Thank you. I did Omega
illustration.
Prime. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for holding that up. I did Omega Prime, and I did Megatron. So I've read for both of those. But sometimes when you go in, there's a thing in the contract often where they hire you for one voice, but they can use you for 4 different voices. So at their discretion. So they'll sometimes say, you'll be playing like a major character in a game or doing an animation series. And then they'll say, we want you to do this other role. And you'll read, something that's third townsperson in the courtroom scene or whatever, and so you have to come up with a different voice, and in the moment you'll just try the voice out. And that's it. That one, we like that one. They'll roll on it, and you'll do 5-6 lines of that, and 5-6 lines of something else. So, but with this, it was actually a real role on Mega Prime.
So later in the show, Megatron turns into Galvatron. So I was wondering, when Megatron becomes Galvatron, did you have any different approach to Galvatron?
Yeah, you have to change the voice. You have to change the attitude. So I would have adjusted for sure for that transformation. And you want to do it in real time so that people can hear the transformation. It needs to, that's kind of the power of it, is that you are reflecting what they're seeing visually, and because that's so well done, you want to kind of keep up with your interpretation and make sure that you're doing. I was auditioning for something today at the booth in my agent's office, and there was I don't think I can really talk about it, but it was there's so much of this stuff about the raps. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you and get fired.
Well, no.
But it's worth it. No, really. But there was a transformation in that character. That character was actually kind of schizophrenic and went from one complete character to another character, and had a conversation with himself, and I had to do that, and that was a lot of fun. But they were like, well, how do you want to do this? Do you want to just go through and record the first character, then we go through and record the second character, and then we can put them together? I'm like, no, let's have the conversation. Let me have the conversation in real time. That's what makes it really interesting, and that's where interesting things happen. Is when you kind of throw yourself into this stuff. That's where you find interesting things. That's what gets you the job, actually. It's kind of like going back to Alduin. If you throw yourself into that language, you throw yourself into doing it, and just see it as I'm just enjoying this moment. I'm enjoying this challenge right now. It doesn't matter whether I get the gig or not. And you just throw yourself into it. That's usually where you get your best work.
You mentioned you're also the voice of Omega Prime.
Right.
I'm wondering, what was it like voicing both a hero and a villain in the same show?
Oh, well, the villain was much more fun. But it was great doing both, and again, it's like you get to show your chops. If you can do these different voices and nobody recognizes that it's you, you've done your job well, and you take a certain pride in that, and that's kind of what I do.
You mentioned like having a conversation with yourself. It was also funny.
Yes.
We rewatched a couple episodes of Transformers, and we noticed that there was a point where it's like Galvatron and Omega Prime are like talking to each other. So I was wondering how
Yes.
you had to like talk to yourself.
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm talking about. In that case, I don't know. I know me, so I would have made an attempt at doing it in real time. I know I would have, because that would have been fun. That's the challenge, it's fun to do that. See if you can pull it off. But they might have, for technical reasons, wanted me to record each separately. And you just need to differentiate. You need to find a different voice and a different attitude. And there's most VO guys have a lot in their arsenal. You have a lot of voices. It's crazy. I have a lot of voices that I've been doing since I was a kid. Like you do it with your friends and you make them laugh. Or we used to do recordings on cassette, and make little radio shows and things like that when I was in junior high. And so for many, many years I was performing, goofing, mocking. I would mock TV a lot in real time. I would watch like the Brady Bunch and just I would often. My cousin was just telling me about this the other day. Well, a couple of weeks ago, when I saw her, and she's my age, and she said we were on the floor roaring because you would turn down the volume on the Brady Bunch, and then you would do all the lines for all the characters in different voices, and basically completely, mocking the show. So it was. I was always going for the most absurd thing I could say, but yeah, you kind of do this stuff as a kid, and then you have a lot of stuff in your hip pocket, like, oh, I can do that accent, or I can do this voice, and so you kind of search and try different things out, and then they'll tell you, oh yeah, that's great, no, deeper, faster, oh we'd like this kind of an accent, so you kind of work with what you've got in front of you.
I imagine that like Omega Prime is easier to record for because his mouth is like covered up.
Exactly. Oh, well, yes. Hello, thank you. Because that was one of the main, like I said before, that was one of the main issues, was we were not constantly, but every session we stopped at least once and had to rewrite so that it would match the mouth flaps. So that became very important to everybody that we did that. You have to match it. So there were certain lines that just needed to be restructured, rewritten. And also even when they're not rewriting, there are times where you're doing it and you have to change your performance so that your timing and matching the mouth movements is exact. And that can be tedious. That can be, you have to really pay attention. You're looking at a screen and you're watching the show. And they've turned off the Japanese. Sometimes they play the Japanese just to give you the idea of the tone and the energy that's going into it. And then they'll turn down the volume, and then you're listening on headphones, and there's beeps. And it's like beep, beep, beep. And on the fourth beat, you start. And they've coordinated it so that you are hitting the exact moment of the speech on screen. Now they've changed that. It's not so much beeps anymore. It's they do it digitally on a slide, so they can slide the image and bring you right to where the mouth starts to move, and then you can start recording and they'll turn it on. It's much more efficient, but yeah, you still have to time it.
Wondering, do you have any of the toys for characters that you voiced?
Oh yes, yes I do. Thank you for asking. I have two different Turbomans. I have the original that they gave me right when we shot the movie, and then I have one that Brian contacted me maybe a year and a half ago, Brian Levant, and said, hey, these guys in Japan are making a new Turboman doll, and they want you to record the voice, because you push a button and it comes out with the classic sayings. You can always count on me and all that kind of thing. Would you be willing to do that? And I said, yeah, well, I guess. He's like, they're going to give you a doll. They're going to give you one. And I'm like, he's really excited by this stuff. He has a collection, like his house. He has a huge house, and he has a room. I mean, there's thousands of figurines and toys and stuff that he's collected over the decades. Wow. So I know he's thrilled, and I'm like, yeah, Brian, I'd rather just get paid, but whatever. Do you want me to do it? And he's like, yeah, I could tell he wanted me to do it. So I was like, okay, for you. I said, for you, I'll do it. So they sent me, it was so easy. I mean, I just sent them an MP3 with like 3 or 4 phrases that they wanted, the classics. And they sent me this beautiful doll. It's a little smaller, it's a little different, but it's beautifully made. And then what they did that was really interesting was, remember in the movie, the wrapping paper, when he goes and tries to steal it from his neighbor's Christmas tree? It has very specific wrapping paper, right?
Yeah.
That has Turboman on the outside, little kind of graphic.
Yeah.
They had created it's not cellophane, it's thicker than that. It's like a Mylar wrapper, and created that wrapping paper from the movie.
Wow.
So when I've opened the box, then it's in this, and I saved the wrapping paper because it's beautiful. It's like this, it's like I said, it's like Mylar. So the whole thing kind of goes together. You unfold it, but it retains its shape, so you can put it back in, put the box back. And it's a little more jewel-like, ornamental, the Turboman doll that they made. It's a little smaller, but they're thrilled. And then it was like, I don't know, a year later, they asked me to record some more stuff. So whatever, I just, go along with the program. But actually, I was honored. I was honored to do it. It's iconic, and I do enjoy the doll. I was pretty impressed. I gotta say, I was pretty impressed when they said it. It's beautiful.
Within like the last couple of years, there was a HasLab for a new Omega Prime.
There was a new what? I'm sorry.
Hasbro does this crowdfunding.
Oh, Hasbro.
Yeah, they have this crowdfunding thing called HasLab, and they decided to do a HasLab for a new version of Omega Prime.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have not heard that.
We backed it.
Oh, you just happen to have one.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way. Yes.
By the way, okay, I got to put my glasses on. All right. Okay. Oh my gosh, that is cool. That's
This,
cool.
yeah, with this version, they are trying to be faithful to the original, but also make it more stable.
Yeah, it looks more. It almost looks like a Lego. It has a Lego-esque vibe.
Yeah, and
Or like the ones you guys showed me from 25 years ago are much more doll-like or
yeah,
smooth. They're really beautiful. This
no,
is a little but this is cool.
and
It's a different.
you can still take this apart into Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus.
Oh, how cool! And you can see there must be how many variations are there? Do you know? Capable of it?
Uh,
Looks like it has a lot.
uh,
We don't know.
You don't know. You haven't done your research. Oh my god! I'm outraged. Outraged.
oh, it's a cool thing is that Ultra Magnus's this gun,
Right.
they made it so that that can also turn into a robot.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Now that's cool. And you guys have not taken it apart and put it back together and done everything with it and all that?
Oh, we have. Okay, so we also want to mention with the 2001 Transformers series, we noticed partly because you had to nowadays you have to get the UK DVDs if you want to watch it.
Oh, really?
Well, it's on YouTube, but Hasbro doesn't really do anything about people uploading it.
That's so interesting. Someone else was telling me something about that.
Since it's a little harder for people to watch the show, watch the 2001 Transformers series, since you basically have to get the UK DVDs to watch it. We noticed that the fan base is generally smaller, but it's also very passionate.
Yes. Yes, very passionate to the point where a lot of people tell me how much that they prefer, that they think that's the best version of Transformers. They love that. They love the animated look. I think they love the humor. There's a lot of humor, I think, in that series. And yeah, a lot of people have their favorites. And I think it's a lot of it, too, is what you grew up with when you first were introduced to the entire world of Transformers and under what conditions. Where was it the movie? Was it Robots in Disguise? Was it a game? Was it a comic book? It just depends on how you came about knowing it. But I think it's really good. I do think it's a really good series. But it's funny because a lot of fans have told me that they wish that Hasbro, instead of sitting on it, really allow people to see it because there'd be a lot more demand. They don't understand why they wouldn't utilize that resource.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't answer. I just don't know.
well, since that was our first Transformers series, it's our favorite.
Yeah, exactly. See, yeah,
and
and I think it looks really good.
yeah. And since you're our first Megatron to us, you are Megatron.
Thank you, thank you. Can we just agree that yes, it's true? I don't want to get too carried away, but yes, that was obviously your first Megatron.
By consensus, you're it.
Yeah, I loved it.
If given the opportunity, would you work on Transformers again?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
So we have some. Is that it? Yeah. All right. So we have some closing questions.
Sure.
Between on camera and voice work, is there one you like doing more?
And that's a very interesting question. And the reason why that's interesting is because I didn't realize why I would see the difference. If you'd asked me that when I started out with voice work, I would have said absolutely on camera. I mean, I've been I've been a theater actor and on camera actor my entire career until I started doing voice work. And I still do on camera work. So I'm still doing theater, on camera work, movies, TV commercials, etc., that are all on camera. But the beauty of voiceover is that you don't have to be in makeup and hair. It's a couple of hours, and you can do very, very well working a couple of hours. And let's say I was the voice of Kia, for example, the car company, for years. And, I would go in and do a few hours work and, make a living, like you could do that and just come in for a couple of hours, not a couple of hours every day. I mean,
Right.
just a couple of hours. And then the beauty of that too was, one time we were sitting in the lobby of the agency, and the 25 main voiceover guys were there almost every day, and really we were probably, there's maybe up 50 to 100 people in the world, closer to 50 really, that are doing all this stuff. I mean, like, we're the main people, right? And so in our agency, there were 25 guys that were like working a lot, and we saw each other almost daily. And like I said, you'd show up, you'd sit in the lobby, you'd read your copy, and then you'd take turns and go into these booths. They had like 3 booths running, and you'd audition, read all your stuff, and then leave. But we would always be chatting in the lobby and joking and, talking about our lives and our children and everything. And everybody kind of at that time had young kids. And I remember one time, and everybody was talking about, oh, I wish, yeah, I love voiceover, but I really want to do a movie. I really want to do a series. I'd love to do, shoot a movie overseas and all this kind of stuff. And one day I said, guys, if we worked as much as we say that we want to on camera, we would never be home. We would always be, even in town, even in LA, you would be, at Paramount or whatever, you'd be there all day long. You're there all day. Those are long days. They're 12-hour days, easy. And, you got kids at home, and with voiceover, I could be home in the morning, take them to school, have breakfast with them, take them to school, drive to the agency, do my auditions. Then if I had to run around town and record, I'd do that. I'd be home and I'd be done in the afternoon. So if I want to go see my son play football or whatever, or soccer or whatever, I could go do that. And then I would always be home every evening to have dinner or make dinner and be with my family, my wife, and my kids. And it was a very luxurious thing to be as an actor. There's no other actors can say that, only voiceover actors. So there's this kind of rarity to it and you can wear whatever you want to wear. You can go in your sweats. You're not having to be an hour in makeup and then go back to your trailer and then wait for them to call you and then come and do a few minutes and then break for lunch and then come back after lunch. It's still fun. I mean, I love being on a set, don't get me wrong. But if you're doing it day in, day out, and you've got little kids, being a voiceover actor was like a dream come true. It was like the best job in the world. And I think a lot of people, certainly a lot of people, ended up seeing that and envying that, because when I started, it was kind of, it was kind of like, it was kind of poo-pooed, like, I'm really an on-camera guy. I don't want to do voiceover. It's kind of, it was I think kind of a little below a lot of stars. They felt like it was a little beneath them to do it. And then people started realizing, oh my God, I can make so much money for just a few hours work, and it's so painless, and as the business constricts and gets harder and harder to succeed in and make money in, as things go offshore and as the unions kind of weaken and as platforms saturate our lives and there are no residuals on platforms, like Netflix does not pay any residuals, and that's the lifeblood of most actors. So you look back and you go, a lot of actors are going, oh, I will gladly do the voiceover. So a lot of stars are kind of plucking those roles now to a large degree because they're a fairly easy payday. The work is not easy necessarily, but the configuration of it, their ability to do the work and to get a decent gig is increased by their celebrity. So it's easier sometimes for them to grab certain roles, certain choice roles, and as it should be. I mean, their names help sell the product, and I don't begrudge anybody that, but it's just interesting that the culture changed around voiceover. It's now everybody wants to get in, and a lot of people want to everybody always asks me, how do I get started? And I was like, yeah, 20 years ago, I could have told you, but now it's like my agent's like, I'm not signing anybody. He's just, it's like, boom, I just don't, it's not happening unless you're already working. So, yeah, I think being a voiceover artist, but the main thing that I'm grateful for is that it gave me an opportunity to make a living and support my family at a time where my kids were young and I was always home. I was always around, and even if you're on location out of the country, sometimes you can be gone for a couple of months, and you might bring your family over, but they're going to see you for a few days out of those few months, and you're gone the whole time. It's like you're leading a separate life. So I find that I'm very, very grateful for the fact that voiceover came into my life kind of accidentally, and I was able to, do well at it.
Do you have a favorite character that you've played?
Well, I think I'm really proud of Alduin in terms of voiceover.
Voiceover or on camera?
Yeah, I think all the ones we mentioned, like Turboman and Captain Zoom, I'm very proud of, and I'm very proud of Megatron, and I think I've done a lot of different things, and I did a bunch of independent movies, and those roles also I'm very proud of. I like some of the dramatic work I've done, and it's funny. One of the assistants at the agency today was saying, "Oh, I saw you on TV the other night," and it was from like 1998, and I was on Diagnosis Murder, and my scene was with Dick Van Dyke, and she goes, "Yeah, you were an escaped villain, and you were." And I said, "Yeah, my scene was with him in the kind of the clinic in the room." And she goes, "Yeah, because you were holding him hostage." I was like, "I don't remember that part." I just remember working with Dick Van Dyke, going, "Oh my God, dude! You're Dick Van Dyke. See, this is from my childhood. It's like watching, the Dick Van Dyke show.
Yeah.
And here's this, and he is as nice as you would imagine him to be. He was a delight, and I think I've been very, very privileged over the years. It's not so much the roles I've played, but the environment I've lived in, and the actors I've gotten to know and work with, who I admired as a child. And if you told me as a kid I was going to work with Harvey Korman, and I was going to work with Dick Van Dyke, and I was going to work with some of the other people I've worked with, that's just like, I would have been like freaking out, beyond my wildest dreams. And every time you walk on a set, every time you walk on a studio, at least for me, and I've talked to other actors about this too, and they feel the same way. I never take it for granted. And every time I always stop on a soundstage at Paramount or Universal or whatever and just go, wow, here I am. I'm living my childhood dream. Because I wanted to be an actor since I was about 8 years old. So, yeah, I guess that's a long way to answer your question, but I guess all the roles mean something to me at some point or another.
Okay, so is there any advice you would give to someone who wants to become an actor or a voice actor?
Yeah, go into finance, I would say. No, become a banker. I think it's really, you have to just follow your dream and give it a shot. And the only advice I would give is, just keep doing it and find venues that you can do it in that allow you in. So if it's a local theater company or your high school drama club or whatever that is. And when you come to town, if you start auditioning for plays so that agents will see you, and it can be difficult to have a successful career, but I think if you're passionate about it and you really care about it and this is what you want to do, you have to be a fanatic. It has to be, I remember the first day in acting class at NYU, they brought us all into a theater. There are hundreds of us. And they said, if you can do anything else that will make you happy, please get up right now, leave, and go do it, because this is a meat grinder. This is crazy. And you have to be devout. You have to be really, really kind of fanatical about it. And the advice I would give also is that, the work is so pure, the work is so rewarding, the work itself, and maybe the business doesn't work out for you, but there's a wonderful life doing this as an art form that's separate from the business. And if you can make peace with that, I don't want to use the word hobby because it kind of belittles what I'm trying to say. But if you care about the art form of acting and it makes you happy, pursue it at all costs. And maybe sometimes it doesn't support you financially, but you can still have a rich life doing it. So, and the rest of it is just keep going. You don't know. To sound very, very zen, it's your path will be made known to you.
All right.
I'm serious because there's no other way to approach it. You cannot control it.
Every year we go to Comic-Con and they have voice actors. Mark Evanier has several panels, and he always asks, what is the most obscure role you've ever played? Like some of them have done the announcements at an airport or something like that. Where would your voice appear that would be
well, I'll tell you, okay, the one that should have been a much bigger deal that ended up being really obscure was in Dreamgirls. And I worked on that movie, and that was a big deal. That was a big A picture, and I was the DJ, like the 1950s DJ, and they did a couple of shots of me in my DJ booth as I'm announcing their record, and I'm talking about their record and how great it is. And I worked really closely with the director, and he treated me like I was the star of the movie. I mean, he's such a great director, just really focused. And I met Eddie Murphy, and we were again on. I keep saying the same studio, but it's true. There's so many great movies there at Paramount, and we were shooting. And then when they used what they used in the film, you just see this much of my face. It's just like my mouth, and everything else is kind of in shadow. It's a tight close-up, like right here, of me, and with the microphone. So it's very intimate, and there's like this moody lighting, and they cut it to I think a line or two, so you don't see my face. It's cut down to one line, and that was pretty obscure. But I was still happy to do it. I mean, they treat you very well when you're working on a big picture like that. So the experience is great. You never know what the outcome is going to be because when they finish editing it, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But that was my most obscure role. Yes.
All right. So if someone wanted to follow you on social media, what would be the best way to do so?
I'm not on any.
Got it.
I'm not on any social media. I am on. I guess it was Twitter, now X. You can see me there at Mr. Daniel Riordan, and the Mr. I had to add because somebody else had my name, which is really strange. And I remember when I put it down, the guys it was a friend helping me, and he was like, "Really, Mr.?" I was like, I don't want to change my name. I mean, I can't think of anything else that differentiates me, but. Yeah, at Mr. Daniel Riordan on X.
Now, is that MR or Mr.?
No, MR.
Okay. Make sure.
Yeah.
This was looking.
So I think,
Yeah.
All right.
For sure. Good question.
All right.
So
Well, we want to thank you very much for being a guest, and we appreciate your taking the time.
my pleasure. Well, it was a delight meeting you guys. Really nice. And I'm assuming this is Dad, right?
Yes.
this.
No.
Yeah, I'm the
Yes.
father of these two.
These are your boys.
Yes,
Yes.
these are my twin
That's
sons.
good.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it because I got a great feeling from these guys when I met them. I don't think I met you that day.
No, I did not
I
attend.
just remember meeting the boys.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking about kids and the whole thing about having your son respond to your games and this kind of thing, I think you can relate to what I'm saying. It's to tell you the truth, that is the greatest reward of my career, is having my kids be entertained by what I've done. And are proud of me and like what I did, even before they really realized what it was. Because sometimes they were very little when they watched some of these things, like Captain Zoom. They knew it was me, but they couldn't process it really.
Well, we actually work.
And anyway,
We work on a
that's the most
project
rewarding
together,
thing.
as a matter of fact. Actually, work
Oh,
on several
really?
projects together. Yeah, one of which is a comic book about identical twins called Power Squared,
Oh, how cool!
which will send you some trades, digital versions of the trades, so you can say you read it.
I'd love to check it out.
All right.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was really nice meeting you guys, and I get it. You know, it's an interesting thing that we're all involved in, and it takes two to tango. You know, it takes someone doing it and then someone responding to it. And I think at this point in my life, I'm just really. I was saying to my wife today, it's so interesting how it's like building. If anything, it's building. I'm busier. It's building, and I think a lot of it's because of people are coming, like that guy said, it's coming into a sweet spot. You know, where people's childhood are now they're adults. You know, they're really into the conventions and everything.
Okay.
So I'm having a blast.
Great.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
do a little close?
Yeah, I'd like to record the outro real quick. Yeah, so if you are watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment below if you have any memories of any of the roles that Daniel Riordan has done.
So until next time, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins. I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you've been on the air with Power Squared.